when I get into the conference, I started meeting the smartest people I had ever met. I was like, oh my goodness, they're all super smart. They are onto something.
Hi, and welcome to the Stackuj podcast. This time we have a special guest, Isabella Santos, and we discuss her projects like GetBased, BTC Isla. We discuss her experience with Bitcoin education in Mexico, and also we cover some health topics like diet and fasting. This show is brought to you by Firefish. Firefish.io is a platform for Bitcoin-backed lending that is based on Bitcoin multisig. So it's a non-custodial platform. No one can lend out your Bitcoin. It is fully transparent and you are in charge as you are one of the holder of the multisig keys. You can check out Firefish.io and use the code Stackuj for 30% off the fees on your first deal. This show is also brought to you by Brains.com. Brains is a company building Bitcoin mining tools. You can check out their Brains store, and if you choose to buy the Brains mini miner, you can use the code Stackuj for 10% off. Thank you, and let's go for the episode with Isabella Santos. Hello everyone, we are here in the Treasure Studios with Isabella Santos. Hello Isa.
Hello.
And we are recording during the BTC Prague conference here in Prague, Czech Republic. This is a very special episode because it's in English. My podcast is usually run in Czech, but during this conference, I always like to record a couple of episodes with interesting Bitcoiners from around the world. So this time we have Isabella Santos, co-founder of GetBased and BTC Isla. Very pleased to have you here. So tell us a little bit about these projects, BTC Isla and GetBased.
Oh, okay. First, thank you so much for having me in your podcast. Honored to be interesting enough to do the exception to do it in English. So GetBased and BTC Isla. GetBased is a production company that I started it with Julian Figueroa and Adam O'Brien. And it is honestly like the perfect team. We balance each other perfectly. And it started out because we wanted to create content like documentaries and just like this passion to inspire people through videos. But the thing was, we couldn't find sponsorships, or maybe with sponsors, they limit you with what you can say, what you can't. And me and Julian were shooting a documentary in Peru. We were covering the Bitcoin circular economies. And on the plane, or on our last day, Julian's like, yo, we should do a company. Like, we work really well together. And after that, we started talking and we're like, okay, let's make it work. And Julian had already met Adam, and Adam was like the other piece of the puzzle that completed it. And for the past year, we've been sort of figuring out how to fund really cool videos, but at the same time, like, have a business structure. Yeah. And we literally discovered the secret sauce, which is tutorials. So we create tutorials for really based companies, and we help them reduce their support tickets. And that's how we fund our videos. All right. And I have my own show called BTC Isla, and that's how I fund it. And we do documentaries, all these crazy ideas. Adam has his own show, Julian with the shorts and documentaries, and I have BTC Isla. And then that's where we go to BTC Isla, the show, and BTC Isla, the project and the movement, which was also around a year ago. I moved to this island called Isla Mujeres. When I moved... The Isle of Women. Yes, yeah. Island of Women. There are pretty women on the island. It's really cool. Funny story, it's called the Island of Women because when the conquistadores, the guys that were colonizing the island, when they hit land on the boat, it was full of women because it's a fishing town. So all the fishermen were fishing and they only saw women. So that's why it's called the Island of Women. So my fiance now, I was going to say boyfriend, but he has a restaurant there and a hotel business there. So when we moved in together, I was like, I want something on my own. And I had this, like, Bitcoin really changed my life. So I wanted to give back and do something to the community and help people sort of like wake up from the system. And I realized that orange pilling the island was going to do that. That was how I could help, like through education and person to person. I'm bilingual, I speak Spanish. So I always wanted to do something in Spanish as well. And sometimes like I did try content in Spanish, but it's, I guess, too soon. I don't know. It didn't really work much.
Yep.
So the way to give back to my native language was through Spanish. And the idea of the project is to orange pill the whole island, you know, with merchants.
What's the population?
20, I think it's 25,000 people. I forgot. 22, no?
Yeah, that's fine. Like the ballpark is 20,000.
Yeah, 20,000. Like it changes because we have a lot of snowbirds. So a lot of people come for 6 months and then you have the locals there. And obviously when you have this idea, you don't think about the consequences that comes with it. So it's been a long but interesting journey in orange pilling the island.
Right. So just to briefly recap, GetBased is a video production company basically aimed at Bitcoin businesses that are looking for professional tutorials, and you run that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's maybe interesting for the listeners if they have like a Bitcoin company, and I think among my listeners there are companies like that, to get in touch maybe and check out your tutorials. Right, because I'm gonna link like everything that we mentioned here, so we're definitely dropping the link to GetBased. And BTC Isla, the aim is for the island to become like a Bitcoin island,
Bitcoin circular economy.
Bitcoin circular economy. So, what's your role model in that? Like, is it Bitcoin Beach, Bitcoin Akasi? Have you visited these circular economies? How do you want to approach that actually to like orange pill 20,000 people?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I'm a very interesting human because I do things backwards. Like you tell me, this is how you do it, and I do it the opposite way. And that's really what ended up happening. I had the idea, and I had never gone to Bitcoin Beach. And at the time, I had heard of Bitcoin Beach, but I did not investigate much. And I started it literally just by, we have this saying in Spanish that it says chicle y pega, where you throw a piece of gum on the wall and like maybe it'll stick and maybe it won't. That was my sort of role model that I kind of followed. So I was like, okay, orange pill an island. Okay, what do I need? Education. Perfect. I'm going to start mi primer Bitcoin. Okay, so I would write to John Donahue. I was like, yo, help me out. How can I be part of Mi Primer Bitcoin? And Mi Primer Bitcoin is amazing. It's this open source education. And they literally have this huge community where they help each other out on like how to structure classes with the materials, anything that you need. So that was a huge help. So I started out with that. Then I was like, okay, well, I need merchants. So then I would literally, and I still do, knock to all the merchants in Isla Mujeres. You get rejected like 99.9% of the time. But that 0.1% that says, yes, I'll take Bitcoin, okay? You know, like, let's do that. So that was the other approach. I started doing that for like a year. And honestly, this January, Bitcoin Beach had a Bitcoin circular economy reunion where they invited all the circular economies from all over the world, from Africa, from Bali, from Peru, from also like El Salvador, from Mexico, all over. It was around 15 of us. And that's when I learned that there was a white paper into building a Bitcoin circular economy. And obviously they taught us a lot and on how to, you know, because one of the things is you got to learn from other people's mistakes. You learn them either by hearing them or by doing them yourself. But some of the stuff that they suggested that we do honestly was a game changer and kind of like obvious. But you know, when things are so obvious that you don't see them, like for example, you at home, if you want to orange pill an island or or your town, one of the biggest tips and, you know, takeaways that I got from there was start from orange pilling one area. So like getting a local strip, you know, and then game theory will play out, but have sort of like an area that many merchants accept Bitcoin. That should be your goal instead of spreading yourself. Like that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So the island is really small. It's like 3 kilometers wide and 14 kilometers long.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was doing, I was like, oh, I want to orange pill the whole island. So I would go from the north part to the south part to the middle. And then I would have like 3 places that accepted in one area and then 5 on the other. And when people come visit, it's all spread out. So that would be like a little tip that I got from there.
Yeah.
And it's just been trial and error.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. So what have you found that connects with the people at the Isla Mujeres? Like, what's the use case? What's the use case for Bitcoin that the locals would have?
So teaching the locals has been interesting because what we humans tend to do is we tend to relate things to our own experiences. So in a way, the people on the islands, their education ranges. Their education levels go from until I think they end school until 8th grade, you know, until they're 13, 14. Mm-hmm. That's when it ends. And they go to school for like 3 hours a day. So their education level is really different from mine, which I studied in the States. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting to see because coming from the States, you know, there's this thing like, oh, the education system sucks and, you know, they indoctrinate you, which is true. But at the same time, having that foundation has taught me to critical think, has taught me to, you know, sometimes think outside the box. I don't know what it entailed, like how that ended up happening. It happened because of their system. But then going to a place where they don't teach you the same foundations, it's difficult. So the first graduating class that I had, it was 4 students. And I would go in assuming that they had some sort of like a background or like, you know, like basic math. Mm-hmm. No. No. And it was kind of like not like a rude awakening, but it's just, you just have to adapt. Yeah. And for them, at the beginning, you know, I was like, yeah, the government, they're trying to take your money. I realized they don't have bank accounts. They don't care about the government. Some of them like don't even have IDs. So I had to shift from that perspective because that's what got me into Bitcoin. You know, like, fuck the government and all this, you know, like they're stealing our money with taxes and our inflation is literally stealing as well. So they're like taking money from all sides, you know, from taxation, from inflation, you know, from your insurance, your social security, everything. And I was like, yo, like I'm working hard for my money. But when I would go to them with like the same reasons why I fell in love with Bitcoin, it wasn't the same for them. Yeah. So I had to kind of like meet them where it was. And kind of that's where I'm working and building from. So their approach is mostly you have the dollar because we have in Isla, there's a lot of tourists. Yeah. And many of them, they either come from Canada or from the US. And in Mexico, in Isla Mujeres, as the case is, they do accept a lot of dollars. They look at the dollar like, oh, the dollar's a bit better than the peso. The peso is the currency in Mexico. And the way that I've been approaching to them is, first of all, Bitcoin is better than the dollar. So then they're like, okay, they're listening about it. They're like, okay. And then through savings, they don't save. They have a culture of just spending so much money. They spend so much money that they don't even have to pay rent sometimes. They don't have to like, for example, like weddings or quinceañeras, which is like their 15, and like the women's transition from teenager to adulthood, they do like, not like a fundraiser, but they have this thing called madrinas and padrinos, which is like godmother and godfather. For example, let's say there's a wedding coming up. You would have a godfather or godmother for the rings, for the dress, for the music, for the photographer, and they would pay for that because the family of the couple or the couple, they don't have money saved up to spend that much.
Mm-hmm. So do you believe like Bitcoin can change that, like to instill like the savings mentality?
Well, it's helped them save. So
you've seen it.
Yeah. So in the classes, we have one of the students, her name is China. China, she's in her late 40s and she has grandkids and everything. And I pay my students for assisting the classes. I know some people are like, no, don't do that. You won't teach them nothing. But the way that I view it is if I pay them sats for attending, they're learning about Bitcoin and they don't have enough money to spend, you know? So I can't expect them to buy Bitcoin without them knowing about Bitcoin. So while they're learning, they get to see like the volatility that comes with Bitcoin. They don't get so scared about it and they start transacting with it. And then between them, they have their own Bitcoin circular economy because they change between sats and pesos within them. Or they do like favors for each other and then they pay each other with Bitcoin. And since we have around like 18 plus merchants that accept Bitcoin on the island, it's low-key kind of hard to, not like hard, but it's kind of like a hassle to spend sats. So they're unconsciously saving money because since I give them sats, when they need to, for example, China, where was the story going to, China had she had cancer, so she had to pay for her studies. And since they don't have much, like they don't save, since I was paying her in Bitcoin, it was during the time where Bitcoin went up from like 60K to 100K, so the price ended up increasing, and she ended up saving enough money to pay for her studies for her cancer treatment. Mm-hmm. You know, so it was like a case where she was able to literally see how the price increased and like her money didn't devalue and she had enough to, you know, pay for her medical bills. Another case was the first taxi driver on the island. We had a ton of Bitcoiners come and they would pay him in sats, and he ended up getting into a car accident and he had to pay for how to fix the car, and he had no money, but he had saved money through Bitcoin. So he was able to use his sats to fix the car and continue like with his services, which is something that like obviously like saving is for also like the rainy days, you know, it's also for your future, but for the rainy days when you need like to spend
for the unexpected.
For the unexpected. And if they wouldn't have saved in Bitcoin, they would have had to ask for a loan. And like in Mexico, like the loan rates, if you ask for a loan, they're ridiculous.
The interest rates.
Yeah, the interest rates.
Yeah.
And most of them, like I said, they don't even have bank accounts. So like who would they ask for a loan? And it's like this vicious cycle.
Yeah, like loan sharks type of situation, right? So yeah, these are great stories. And you recorded, I think, a couple of videos, right, about your experiences, which are very fun. I will link to those. I'm curious. So, how long have you been at the Isla Mujeres, like doing the Bitcoin education? How long has it been?
About a year and 2 months.
Okay.
In February, it was a year. No, more. Yeah. So in February, it was like a year. So now we're in
June.
Time flies.
Okay, so almost 18 months now. So I'm curious, how does the merchant adoption goes in terms of retention? Because sometimes we see that problem that, yeah, the merchants start accepting Bitcoin, but then there are no payments, so they stop. So how has that been going on in the island? You said there's Bitcoiners coming in, so do they see like sufficient spending at these merchants?
It varies. You have to be constant. Like one of the things that I've put out like is to always go to them, like try and go and like show them like there are tourists that do want to spend sats. So when many Bitcoiners come, I kind of give them the tour. Like these are the places that accept Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I try to get the merchants to come to the classes. I'm not gonna lie, that's hard because they work a lot. So one of the things that has helped a lot is the Twitter community. Because when I onboard these merchants, I put their Lightning QR code on it. And that's when the magic happens. Like the Bitcoin magic literally happens because it shows them how global it is. And it shows them that it's not just me, like a random girl going around the island and telling them like, hey, like accept Bitcoin. They're like, yeah, okay, like let's be realistic. Like in a month, we'll have about like 10 Bitcoiners come. Sometimes they'll go to some of the merchants, sometimes they won't.
Yeah.
But the true magic happens when I onboard them and then they realize that there are people from across the globe that literally want to help out and make sure that they're like onboarded to like, and that's when they're like a chip flips.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, like some, like, not to be like judging people, but the ones that are more genuine, they kind of like stick with it and they don't mind accepting it because they're like, okay, 1 to 5 people will come a month, you know, like it's not really like it won't affect much. But there's been like one of them said, no, we don't want to do that Bitcoin thing anymore. But they kind of looked a little sketchy, but
all right. What kind of tools do you recommend to merchants? Is it just basic like Wallet of Satoshi or Blink, or there's like this Bitcoin Ice machine? I believe that's the Brazilian project.
Oh yes,
you know about that one?
Yes, of course.
That's a little bit more advanced, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of tools do you use?
So I use the one that I've tried many because I tried. Have you heard of Coinos.io?
I've probably heard about it, but don't know much.
It's not an app, it's a website. I think they have an app now. And it was very simple, no KYC, and it was similar to Wallet of Satoshi. But since I was from the States, Wallet of Satoshi, like I kind of like forgot about it for a minute. And I used Coinos, but what I realized was the merchants, like they would forget. They're like, how do I do it again? Because it was on like Safari or Google or, you know, the internet. And I switched to Wallet of Satoshi and it went amazing because it was like super quick, simple. Then I've also had Speed. Speed is also for, it includes also the US. So I'm trying different ones because I want them to be decentralized. I feel like if you stick to one, then when tourists come, then they're like, oh, how do we use this type of vibe? So I'm experimenting, trying new things. But for right now, I've tried internet, like in the internet and Safari, and also apps. But those would be the ones that I've been using.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. So I would like to go back maybe a little bit in terms of how you got into Bitcoin. What drove you to Bitcoin? You mentioned some like a little bit of political philosophy there. And what's your perception of Bitcoin now? Like, yeah, go for that.
How did I get into Bitcoin? Well, I actually had just graduated college and I'm a spender. You know, there's 2 types of people in the world, spenders and savers. anytime I had money in my bank account, I would spend it. I would okay, you know what I mean? Like shopping and online shopping, it does not feel like real life shopping. You swipe a credit card, a piece of plastic, it doesn't feel real. So my method of saving money was I would obligate myself to get cash out of my account and put it in a safe. That was my saving. So fast forward to 2021 in Wynwood, and I ended up going to the Bitcoin conference. I figured I kind of snuck my way in a way. I was giving out free coffee, and Alex Vetsky helped me get into the conference. And when I get into the conference, I started meeting the smartest people I had ever met. I was like, oh my goodness, they're all super smart. They are onto something. I'm literally going to listen to them. I follow blindly. I don't ask that many questions. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I remember leaving that conference and being like, something's up here. And it made sense in a way, It also helped that many of them shared the same beliefs that I had, separate money and states with inflation, that your whole money, literally, you don't have to be a scientist or have a really high IQ to realize that the value of your money is not the same as it was 10, 20 years ago. I remember when I came to to America, to the United States, I'm originally from Peru, so my parents immigrated immigrated in a way, to the States, and you could buy things for $1. Fast forward to when I graduated, there's nothing that you can buy for $1. The 99-cent store doesn't exist anymore. So having sort of a solution to escape the system, and it was kind of like a match made in heaven in a way. My beliefs with what they were doing, the silent revolution. So it's kind of, the more that I dug and the more that I learned, I realized this is probably our last and only hope. It's the silver lining in that rainy day, which in a way, I don't know if you guys have read the book 1984 by George Orwell. And that book really changed my life. I read it when I was in high school, and that's where we're headed, And if we don't find a way to kind of opt out, which I feel like Bitcoin is, if we do it the right way, because there's still a way that the government can interfere in a sense. So.
Yeah. Also another great book that's maybe a little bit more in touch with current realities, The Mandibles.
I have it, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, Matt Odell recommended that. I've read it some time ago, and it's really great because it describes what would happen in the USD hyperinflation scenario from the perspective of one family. So it's very, it's not from the macro perspective. It's really just a family that was previously quite well off, but everything evaporated. It's rough. It's a rough read. Sort of 1984. That wasn't also an easy read. But I really recommend that. So if you have it on your shelf, you should read it. It's great.
No, it's on my next.
Yeah, but it's crazy when you realize that the dollar is still definitely one of the strongest currencies in the world, and even in America, if you use USD, the inflation and the erosion of the purchasing power is very noticeable over the past 10, 20 years. And it's much, much worse in places like Africa, or how is it maybe in Mexico, Peru? What's I imagine it's much worse, right?
So
in terms of inflation,
it's not so bad as in Argentina, but it's bad. It's bad as in, for example, in Mexico, if you want a service and you get a quote, let's say you want some tutorials, and I give you a quote in Mexican pesos. It has a 15-day deadline because the price changes after those 15 days. The dollar is not the same in as the Mexican peso.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that being in the States. Because in the States, you're kind of like nurtured in this bubble. You see everything like, oh, USD and all the currencies are going down compared to the dollar. But it's not, they're all going down.
Yeah.
It's just, the dollar's just less. It's like that little frog that is sitting in the jacuzzi now. It's like, and that boiling water is turning up.
Yeah.
And obviously you notice it more in third world countries or developing countries because they don't have that. They have the dollar as the reserves, you know, which is interesting to see when you see like Mexico and Peru, they have a lot of dollars in reserves. So that's why it's not as noticeable as in Argentina and in Africa.
Yeah. I always find as a Bitcoin educator, it's much easier in a way to explain Bitcoin because you don't need to explain like the first part, why fiat money sucks, because it's so obvious. Like, as you say, like if the quotes are valid for 15 days, it's ingrained in people that you just basically, it's not even a unit of account for you then. I imagine in places like Mexico, people think in dollars rather than pesos, like for the long term, for like long-term savings, real estate prices and stuff. That's definitely how it is in Africa, in some countries in the Eastern Europe, because just the history of the past 100 years has been constant, like devaluations, disappointment, hyperinflation.
100%. Many families save in dollars. And then when the dollar is at a decent price, they sell it for their pesos. And I've seen that like change. And it's interesting because they don't realize the dollar is also inflating away. So it's interesting to see how it's like, oh, I will save in a, I guess, in a less shittier currency. Yeah. But hopefully it doesn't happen with what happened in Venezuela.
Usually people like have this impression, which is understandable that the dollar is the ultimate, basically, savings technology if you don't have access to like real estate or the stock market, which is the case in many places around the world. Unless they like start to understand that the USD is also like it's less shitty. That's the only thing going for it. And there's like an instrument that isn't shitty at all, which is Bitcoin, if you hold it for a long term, of course. 100%. So I'm also curious, like, are you still in touch with like the community in Peru? And do you know how is it going in terms of Bitcoin adoption in Peru?
Yeah, I was just with Valentin. He's the one that's literally the boots on the ground. They have over 18 circular economies in Peru. It's insane. Last time I spoke to them, I know that they're also trying to get more tourists to come. That's one of the things that's kind of like this problem that I noticed with circular economies. I think us as Bitcoiners need to like put in our bucket list to visit these Bitcoin circular economies around the world, because I don't think Bitcoiners at home realize how much of an impact they make when they come and visit these places. Yeah. You know, even if it's once for like, I don't know, 1 day trip or something, it makes such a huge difference. So I know they just created a Bitcoin circular economy in Mancora. Mancora is a surfing town. I know there's a lot of Bitcoin surfers over in Peru, so that's going to be super cool. But what they're doing there is amazing. Yeah. They're teaching English. They're literally like helping. I know their main focus is women and helping, because these women are in abusive relationships. So they teach the women how to be independent by helping them start a business. And that business, they teach them Bitcoin, and then they teach them, you know, how to do English. And then it's super, super interesting. Yeah. We actually did a documentary on it. All right. Cool. Get Based did it. And also Joe Nakamoto did it on what they're doing, because...
Awesome. So it's similar to BTC Dada, maybe, that's in Kenya. It's like female-oriented Bitcoin education Cool. Yeah, that's really great to see. Okay, I will link to all of those, and it's a great tip for the listeners to maybe explore the Bitcoin circular economies around the world. There's a list now, right?
Yeah.
There's like a federation of Bitcoin circular economies, I believe it's called. So maybe to explore that and just plan like the family vacations and trips around those. And I guess it's much more meaningful than just going to like see, the wonders of the world. Like, or if you do, you can still make a stop at the circular economy.
Yeah, no, and many of them are in really cool places.
Yeah.
I did not realize the impact until when I went to Bitcoin Beach for the first time, and you see like the Bitcoin logo everywhere and people accepting Bitcoin, or in Berlin and El Salvador. That was the first time I did not have to use the BTC map to go to places. Like, you literally go there and every place accepts Bitcoin. It's insane what they're doing there.
Yeah, I haven't been there, but I have a very like similar experience in Bitcoin Witsand. It's in South Africa. It's not a poor community. It's a affluent community in South Africa, and I think it's like the highest rate of Bitcoin adoption per capita, because the town has like 500 or maybe 1,000 residents, and basically all the merchants are on Bitcoin, and it's really crazy to see like what these guys have accomplished. Basically everybody there accepts Bitcoin and they know why they do that. So it's really amazing. So that's definitely one of the circular economies to visit, and it's a beautiful place. Like it's basically like a holiday spot. So yeah, that's really beautiful. But I will link the federation so the listeners can check it out.
And it's cool because not many tourists go there. So
yeah, that's true.
It's a little bonus, little side quests.
Yeah, very true. So in terms of Bitcoin as such, is there anything for you that's like the major issue in Bitcoin? Like what's the biggest issue for you in Bitcoin right now from your perspective?
From my perspective, there's a lot of things that we need to improve. I think that's one of the cool things about Bitcoin circular economies. They teach you like to see what needs to happen in order to scale. And like right now, one of the things that I can think about is like, for example, the transition from like Lightning to on-chain, the fees, you know what I mean? Like they're expensive. Like purchasing big items, like for example, you want to buy real estate with Bitcoin. Like, how are we going to find that solution? Because, for example, like in Mexico, right now, when you're trying to figure out like how to, because what's happening is in Isla Mujeres, we're building villas, and we kind of want to sell them with Bitcoin, for Bitcoiners. And the thing is, okay, tell that to an accountant. Tell that to, they think Bitcoin, they've created these laws, these fake, stupid laws that they think, oh, Bitcoin is for laundering money. It's not for laundering money. You just have implemented all these different laws that we need to KYC everything from our lives and report every single thing from our lives, because the government just wants to control you, and they literally want to have that power over you. So it's kind of like these barriers that if we do want to reach mass adoption and we want to make Bitcoin, a currency, we need to think about these things. Like what's going to happen? The government, you have Lagarde I recently heard that, for example, Czech, they were going to have like 5% of their reserves in Bitcoin. And then Lagarde heard of it and she was like, you can't do that. So it's these barriers that we have to see. And then you have in the States, the Bitcoin mining, that it's becoming like low-key centralized, I think Bitcoiners need to like start speaking about these things. And yes, it's great that we have governments talking about it because it creates sort of like this validity. But in a way, I feel like the governments have this agenda to, they're not going to give up the power that easily. They're not going to be like, oh, the US is the global reserve currency of the world, and we're not going to take it, like turn it into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
My thing is just don't be so naive about what we're hearing on the news, because at the same time, all the news are paid for. I used to work in journalism. So I realized like all the news that you see it comes from a person, and people have biased opinions. News are not.
Yeah. So I would agree. Bitcoiners need to be careful about how Bitcoin is getting adopted on the higher levels in terms of like how the state is approaching Bitcoin. I believe here in Czech Republic we have quite a good approach. I call it like a defensive lobby, where, for example, just 6 months ago, we got rid of the capital gains tax if you hold Bitcoin for more than 3 years. Also, if you spend Bitcoin within a year until the threshold of like 4,000 euros, it's also no tax obligation. And that's a very good example of just defending Bitcoin from this overreach, but this offensive lobbyism where you push for strategic Bitcoin reserves. I don't think that's what we should be doing, because then it means that the tax revenue is going to be used basically for that. And I was always surprised that in the US there isn't a higher push for, or the bigger push for, getting rid of the capital gains tax, for example.
That's the no KYC.
And the KYC,
KYC.
Yeah.
If you want to buy Bitcoin as a new person, you can't without a KYC exchange. So it's these things that I think we all need to start kind of advocating for.
Yeah.
I was at a women's brunch, and we had the panel was focused on privacy. And honestly, we were talking about that. It's a huge issue. And the more the years pass, the worse that it gets. You have these amazing companies that literally want to continue with the Bitcoin ethos, and they get shut down because of all the regulations that they have to do. And it's who put these regulations in place? You know what I mean? I think we forget that we outnumber them. If we all kind of gain together and kind of unite in a way, feel like the government's officials really
Yeah, there always needs to be someone leading the way. That's the current, that's a recurring theme in all the oppressive regimes. There's always much more ordinary people than the police force and the politicians, but people they don't want to rise up by themselves. There needs to be some sort of leader. So yeah, hopefully we just need good Bitcoin leaders, basically.
I know, but if you keep looking back at history, it's we never end this fight to end authoritarian regimes. When is it going to stop? Who keeps creating them?
The incentives. It's I believe it's not just individuals. It's the incentives. Yeah. You mentioned privacy, and I have a very good question here from one of the fans. You're one of the most visible and recognizable women in Bitcoin. How do you approach opsec? So, you know the topic. How do you deal with the fact that you might be recognized on the street as a Bitcoiner, both maybe in Mexico, in the US, in Europe?
I saw that one. It's a good one because honestly, my generation grew up of everything, literally putting everything online. So I'm trying to rewire my brain to sort of separate the two, because that's one of the talk. I'm flashing back to the women in the women in Bitcoin brunch that we had. And Susie, Violet Ward, she's a journalist and she's amazing and an amazing friend. And she was talking about that. She was like, we've kind of been raised in a way to think oh, I have nothing to hide, and you show everything to the world. And that's how I am. I'm yeah, I really don't have anything to hide. So I'm kind of in a weird pickle because I do want to make a difference and I do want to inspire people. And sometimes it's all about the trade-offs, you know? And at the same time, I do live on an island, you know, like it's kind of difficult to get there, I guess. So right now I don't have that many issues. Hopefully I don't.
Yeah.
So I really prayed to God and my guardian angel to protect me. That would be my answer. But I do have to be careful with my privacy. It's something like that I've learned. I got some tips today on privacy that I need to adapt. But we're all kind of like in it. You know, I feel like it's a very small percentage that are not safe in a way. And what do I mean by that is like, for example, like our phones are listening all the time. If you don't have certain, you know, apps to like restructure your phone in a way to stop, you know, listening, to stop recording from your camera and all these little things. So that's a rabbit hole I need to fall down. So my friends, that's your answering at home. I hope I answered it.
Yeah.
Correctly.
No, it's good to be at least aware that you are making some sort of trade-off if you're like a publicly known Bitcoiner, and then you deal with it.
Yeah, that's my motto. You know, I don't think, I just act. So all my videos, I'm literally just doing what I am doing, and then I see the consequences and the repercussions. But if I honestly, this year I've had multiple people actually come up to me and like recognize my work, that it's actually inspired them to do similar things. And I mean, we're all going to die eventually. And if I can inspire other people to sort of like do something to like literally break the cycle and opt out of the system, then I did what I came here to do.
Yeah. Brilliant. So, what other rabbit holes besides money has Bitcoin led you to?
A lot. Health. Then let's see what else. Health has been my most recent one that I've kind of like fell down into. Climate change a little bit, not an expert, but I've gone into some crazy rabbit holes with that one. I've met a couple of friends that are flat earthers. I don't share that opinion, but I can see where they're coming from. Like they have their own theories. But there's, I guess those are my most recent ones.
Let's maybe stop at health. And I've seen that you're organizing the Bitcoin Fit Games. So maybe that's a good starting point for the topic of health. So what is it?
The Bitcoin Fit Games, I'm pairing up with Bitcoin Sports Network. They do tons of sporting events. One of their most famous ones was the Max and Stacy Invitational in El Salvador. And the Bitcoin Fit Games is literally an initiative to, I mean, you can relate. Bitcoiners, when you come, is normally one out of the whole family that's a Bitcoiner. It's really hard to orange pill your whole family. So with Freda, we wanted to create something where we can involve the whole family. You know, if you have kids, to bring them, have something fun while they learn about Bitcoin. And they realize like, oh, it's not this big, scary, scammy thing that many people have this, myth about. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Bitcoiners from all over the world come and participate for 3 days to compete with each other.
At your island.
On my island. And they're going to be in teams. Each family is going to be a team, and they're all going to compete to get the winning prize, which is Bitcoin, and they will donate it to the merchant of their choosing on the island. So the idea is for them to orange bill merchants to compete with each other, like physical games like rowing, push-ups, running, some like tug of war. There's also going to be a scavenger hunt on the island. And that way you can involve your family and also teach them about Bitcoin in a way.
Nice. So when is that happening?
In October 3rd to the 5th.
Okay, I will link to the website. There's a website.
And you have to come with your family too.
Yeah, I'll try.
It's far, but it's worth it. Yeah. That way you can also visit the circular economies over there.
Yeah. You also recorded a video about like some thyroid issues, right? So what was the deal with that?
Okay, so we were talking about the rabbit hole of health. Yeah. Many Bitcoiners have heard of I'm assuming the water fasting, where you fast and you only do water. So I decided to do that. And of course, I'm a woman and I have hormones and I didn't time them properly with my hormones. So this is my theory from my investigation and my conversations with AI that probably triggered my hypothyroidism. So I did water fasting for 5 days. If you're a woman at home watching or listening, investigate before you decide to do any of this stuff, because I didn't do it. I just did it, common theme where I just do things and I don't think about the process. That was one of them. So I fasted for 5 days and then I did the carnivore diet for like another month. And I ended up going to Japan to shoot a documentary about Metaplanet, because Metaplanet is another amazing company over there. And they're orange pilling like the whole country. Anyways, I go to Japan and I'm like, first time in Japan, I gotta eat everything. So I start eating like pancakes, burger, anything. The food in Japan is just on another level. So when I came back and I got some blood work done, it came back like I had hypothyroidism. And what happened was I was eating a lot of gluten in Japan, and soy and everything, all of that kind of like triggered it. And obviously unconsciously, I went back to carnivore, because obviously you come back from a trip, you're like, oh, I got to go back to my normal diet. So I went back to carnivore and my TSH levels went down just by stop eating gluten, soy, and milk. And then, well, now I'm back in Europe and I kind of ruined that. But yeah, what I realized was through my research, because I went to a lot of doctors to try to solve my issue, is that they try to give you a pill to put, like to cover the sun with a thumb type of vibe. And I was kind of, I went to the first doctors I went to and I showed them my blood work. I had only done one blood work at that time. They did not ask to do more. They're like, oh, you have thyroid, hypothyroidism, and Hashimoto. So you need to take this pill for life. I'm like, sir, what do you mean? You haven't asked me any questions. You just saw my blood. And the guy was like, I'm sorry, ma'am. Like, honestly, if you have trouble accepting you have an autoimmune disease, then you should go to a psychiatrist. You should not be talking to me. And I was like, oh, come on. I'm asking questions because you're telling me that I'm going to have to take this pill for life. I want to explore other options and see if it can like change sort of like my outcome in a way. So obviously I did not go back to him. I left and I went to another doctor. And I started realizing sort of like these different things that affect hypothyroidism. Like, for example, I went to like a natural doctor and she was telling me and asking me the right questions. For example, what's your diet like? What do you work? Are you on the computer all day? Or are you outside, or what is it? And since I work with the computer all the time, the light from the computer hits your throat. And the thyroid is in your throat. So it was like all these things that I didn't know. And your thyroid is this little gland that everybody has that controls your hormones. And it controls whether you're tired or not, whether you're moody or not. So it controls your emotions, everything. And I started sort of like treatment with her, but and then she told me I needed to do like what células madres, which is like mother cells. Is it mother cells?
Stem cells, maybe?
Stem cells. And I was like, girl, come on. So I'm like, I'm in a process of trying to not like self-medicate myself because these doctors kind of go crazy. You know, they're like, oh yeah, you need stem cells for your thyroid. And it's a treatment that costs $1,200.
Yeah.
So it's a journey that I'm currently on and struggling to fix myself in a way.
Yeah,
So,
but it's definitely good to explore the options because like the classic mainstream doctor usually has a pill to recommend you to sell you basically. But for a lot of issues like that basically just solves the symptoms usually, the medications, but you need to go after the causes, right?
no, in that pill, it is literally one of the top 3 drugs that is prescribed to everybody in America. So 1 out of 3 people are on that.
In the US?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, but it's also globally too.
Wow.
It's crazy. Not that statistic is the US, but globally it's still one of the top drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom's on it. And once you're on it, you can't get off. So it's like these things that they give to you because they get money from it. You know, it's this vicious cycle going back to incentives.
Yeah. It boils down to incentives. A great book on that topic around basically incentives and the diet is Fiat Food by Matthew Lisiak. Yeah, you can see that at BTC Prague. It's one of the best books I've read like on that topic, on the topic of food itself. And also we're sort of running out of time now, but I'm curious about your impressions from BTC Prague. Is it your first time or second? Yeah.
I love BTC Prague. No, the 2 brothers that created it, they do such an amazing job. They're so warm, so welcoming. The speaker lineup that they have is insane. They actually gave me the opportunity to do my first MC gig in the main stage. I'm going to do that tomorrow, so I'm excited. And they were they actually asked me to MC for the first time last year. It was my first time MCing, and it was pretty nerve-wracking, not going to lie. But going to highlight the food.
Mm-hmm.
The food is so good. They do such a good job with that. I love conferences that are inside and outside because it gives you like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So,
and the weather is great in June in Prague.
Oh my God. And we're in Prague.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, being in Europe, being able to escape for a little bit, I love it. It gives me a purpose to do a little tourism.
My personal highlight from the conference so far is Larry Leppard. I've sort of heard about him before. I follow him on Twitter, but I've never heard him speak like in person. And he really goes hard. Like it's really amazing. Like he's an older dude. He said like he's 60 today. He actually had a birthday today. Yeah.
It was today?
Yeah.
He said, I saw him, but I didn't say happy birthday.
And he is like real hardcore Bitcoiner. It was really amazing to hear him talk.
No, insane. His new book is insane.
Yeah, I need to get that one. Yeah. The big print. The big print.
The big print. Yeah. Yes. The cover, everything is really good.
Yeah. Anything else you would recommend? Can be a book, a movie, some type of music. What's your favorite stuff like that you would like to recommend to people?
I would like to recommend people to support BTC Isla. Go follow the YouTube. We drop every episode every week. And to follow, let's see. I really love, okay. There's this new Bitcoiner that I've been literally loving all her stuff. It's Professor 21B. She's amazing. And I actually met her at the Vegas conference. Her energy, intoxicating, such a cool human. And I think she's literally going to be the next big star. Okay,
I need to check her out. I don't know about her.
Check her out. It's insane. Like she's been doing like these really quick interviews. And I think she just started her podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I recently just met Bitcoin. She was from Czech. Her name was Susan.
Bitcoinerka. Yeah.
Bitcoinerka, yes. Yeah. And she's starting this education program, and I really, really liked her. So
yeah. That's a Czech only with content.
Oh, it is? Okay, that's why I was like, I'll follow and support and repost best any way that I can. Then you obviously have Efrat that has the podcast here, The Voice. Susie Violet Ward, she writes these insane pieces that get censored because she's speaking out the truth. So, who else would I have to say? Obviously, Natalie Brunell's podcast, Coin Stories, love that. And honestly, Carla's tweets. Carla, her tweets are freaking amazing. That woman cracks me up every day. Like, I literally look forward to her tweets and I'm waiting for her to drop a new song or single anytime soon.
Carla with Walker.
Yeah.
Are they the Bitcoin couple?
The Bitcoin couple, yes.
Yeah. All right, so I will link to all of that. That's great recommendations. Thank you very much. I will link to your profile as well and your projects. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. And it was a good talk.
Awesome. And thank you, listeners, for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it, I don't know if you have to subscribe because all the other episodes are in Czech. So maybe in a year there will be another English episode. So see ya. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening to my podcast. This show is brought to you by Farfish.io, a non-custodial Bitcoin lending platform. Use code Stackuj for 30% off on your fees. And Brains.com, use code Stackuj to buy the Brains mini miner in their Brains store. Thank you, and until next time.